Asian woman admits her people aren't getting into top universities after affirmative action case. And this has been posted by the African Diaspora News channel, which is actually a really good news channel. I absolutely love it. I'm subscribed. It's on, well, not on this account, but I should, why am I not subscribed on this account? I will subscribe. So yeah, feel free to subscribe along, get some African Diaspora News. It's pretty cool. But anyway, let's get into this video and we'll chat about it as we go along.
Well, a couple of years ago, we all know the famous case that Asians were saying that affirmative action was keeping them out of colleges and universities because undeserving Black Americans was getting into these colleges and universities over them. They were claiming that.
So once again, you know, we've spoken about it before, the white supremacist adjacent Asian community. They have the problem in America. We have the same problem here in the UK, where a lot of the Asian community will align themselves or be adjacent to white supremacy when it suits them. They'll try and get rid of anything they see as a isolated benefit for Black people, but any of the benefits that have come from Black struggle, you know, any kind of like he's talking about here, affirmative action, or we have something called BAME here in the UK, where actually it's taken groups of Black people to lobby to get changes made. They'll seek to democratize that for all minorities, which normally includes women. So normally you'll get brown people, you get Asians, you get disabled, you get women, all benefiting from the protesting and the lobbying activities of Black people. But they'll stand against anything that seems to be isolated towards helping Black people. So obviously it's far more evident and far more tangible in the States, but it's just interesting. Like I said, it's important for us to discuss the compatibility between Asian hate of the Black community and white supremacy. They often overlap, and it's often, I think it's good that we have these pragmatic conversations about when this occurs.
We didn't deserve these spots. They deserved the spots because they had the grades. They teamed up with Students for Fair Admissions, and for years they tried to get rid of affirmative action in college admissions. And they could not get it done until they teamed up with Asians, another so-called minority. Well, fast forward after that decision, Asian community isn't getting exactly what they thought they was going to get out of it. I also want you to listen to what this woman has to say about her community as well.
What has it gotten you? What has this house, to the Asians that are still bending over backwards for white acceptance, what has it gotten you? You guys got rid of affirmative action, and now we are not getting into top universities at the same rate that we used to, but when affirmative action was still a thing. Our elders were getting beat up in the streets during COVID. Did you having a white husband stop that from happening to your mom? Some of y'all made that fusion cuisine and put strawberry in matcha, and now the white people really like it. And our food costs way too much. There's a matcha shortage. The colonizers are looking at ube now. They're trying to bulldoze Chinatowns across.
And just to stop, because this woman's saying a lot that I agree with. Clearly they have the same raccooning activities in the Asian community as we have in the Black community. But even she was talking about like what benefit, you know, you've done all this to, you know, essentially attack Black people. Oh, we're going to get rid of their affirmative action. Oh, stopping us. Actually, it was benefiting you. It was benefiting you. And that's a lot of people don't realize. It's particularly these like Black conservatives and these kind of like red pill idiots. You don't realize how much it benefits you that there are actually Black people who are taking up this fight, that there are actually Black people fighting for equality. You don't realize how much you benefit from it. And the moment those things that have been fought for are removed, we're all going to suffer under a white supremacist system. The only demographic that benefits under a white supremacist system is white males. That's it. Okay? White males, that's it. Not white people, white males. They're the only demographic who benefit under a white supremacist system. Females will suffer because white supremacy and misogyny go hand in hand. That's why it's so compatible with Christianity. Sorry, Christians out there, but you know, they like the misogynist version of Christianity. Okay? And all these idiots who are kind of like flittering around the edge of conservatism, these Black idiots in particular, are thinking that this thing is going to, once Christian white supremacy takes over, they're going to remember their Black and Asian contributors. Yeah, you got a wake up call coming. This woman's talking about it. For years, the Asian community have been aligning themselves with white supremacy, trying to remove these things. And now it's been removed. They ain't getting into university anymore. Guess who's getting in? That demographic that I mentioned before, white males. Guess who disproportionately was, impacted by the removal of DEI, for instance? Yeah. What demographic do you think shot through the roof when they did that? White males. But hey, they're deserving white males because we're the only ones fit for the job, right?
Yeah, and what has voting for Trump personally done for you?
Well, it sounds like buyer's remorse. That's what it sounds like. See, it's not just the Asian community, but it's a lot of these communities that come over here. They really think they know better than Black America. They really believe the BS that them folks fed them. Oh, those Black Americans are just lazy.
And by the way, as a Black man of Nigerian descent, a Black British man, I should say, of Nigerian descent, I have to put my hand up because I always thought the kind of like culture wars was a little bit overblown. As someone who's always identified with the Black American community, I've always just seen myself as Black, and so for me, I don't have a lot of these hang-ups that a lot of other people have in regards to, well, I'm here, I'm not this kind of, I'm like, well, Black man, like, oh man, we face the same shit, don't matter what country we go to, man. We get on a plane, me and a Black American get on a plane, and we get off, we get off at Dubai. Yeah, the people at the other end, without seeing our passport, are going to treat us exactly the same. Just going to treat us like two Black men. If we get on a plane, get off again at China, going to treat us like two Black men. So for me, you're Black, you're Black. That's me personally. Do you know what I mean? And I'll take the upsides with the downsides, but I choose it every single time. But the point being that I've never had these hang-ups, but I'll tell you what, there are Nigerians out there, a lot of them, unfortunately, who do share these ignorant views.
Make me truly embarrassed of being Nigerian. The first thing is how white supremacist Nigerians are as a collective.
So I kind of get it when and by the way, there's Black Americans as well that have these really ignorant views about Africans, and I've received that as well. I've met groups of Black Americans who've been very anti-African, and actually even growing up in my hip hop culture, I used to hear a lot of anti-African stuff that used to come through hip hop culture, used to come through comedy. So I think, people have to be honest about what they've, Black Americans can't turn around and completely act like that they've been, open arms welcoming to Africans. Africans have been looked down upon by a lot of Black Americans. And actually, I think a lot of the way history has been taught has created a gulf and a kind of like a distance and a dislike between Africans and Black Americans. But I think it's two-way. I think Africans can look down on Black Americans can look down on Africans. And until we kind of just really get a reality check on both sides, that we're kind of in it together and we're experiencing the same thing, and our experiences are intrinsically linked. Okay. Maybe it's just something that my ancestors told me from a very young age, but I know my success as a Black person throughout this world is always going to be linked to how Black Americans are treated in their nation, how Black South Africans are treated in their nation. I know that my links, my success and my liberties, my rights are intrinsically linked to the rights of Black groups all around the world. And so I take on every single Black struggle as I see it as a personal struggle. I've realized that I'm very different in that regard. So it is what it is. But I'm just wanting to acknowledge that, I see this. I do see Black Africans. I've been startled at how ignorant they can be about the Black American experience. It's quite sad.
Oh, yeah, you're just so much better than them. Oh, if it wouldn't be for them Black Americans, you could be in these colleges and universities. You could be in these jobs. But it's that affirmative action that's holding you back. And instead of you doing research, a lot of you study, you got straight A's. And the reason why you get straight A's with your parents, if you get a B, you in trouble. Trust me, I know how a lot of your parents get down. You're so focused on getting an A that you're not giving an A in common sense. Because common sense will say, you know what? Let me just do a little research why affirmative action got put in place. Let me do just a little research to see what the benefits of affirmative action and what was the country like prior to affirmative action coming into play.
Anybody fighting against affirmative action is either a racist or an idiot. There's just no two ways about it. Okay, you're either racist in that you just want to preserve your privilege and you see the withholding of affirmative action as a way to preserve your privileged position, or you're an idiot, in which case normally these are the black people who are against it. And you truly do think we live in a world where there's equity of opportunity, and you don't think that certain communities have been deliberately held back, deconstructed, and need there to be fairer practices in place so that people who look a certain way or come from certain communities can actually be given the opportunity or the option. And by the way, affirmative action has always existed. It hasn't always been this racial thing. Okay, in the UK university admissions has gone through that affirmative action process. They might not have called it that, but universities realized, hey, we're not making top universities like Oxford and Cambridge had to put in practices and checks to make sure that they're making spaces available to people from working class communities, to people from inner city areas, because they weren't historically. Historically, they were just taking the same, people from that class of nepotism from, Middle England and from, very well-developed areas or from private schools, etc., etc. They were only taking those people. So they had to put checks in places to make sure that they give out a certain number of places to students who, by the way, aren't poor students, aren't like not well-achieving students who are getting the grade, but who are from working class areas who they normally reject because they didn't fit the kind of quota of what a Oxbridge, that's kind of like Oxford or Cambridge, or what an Oxbridge student looks like. That's a form of affirmative action. I think everyone would argue that that was a good thing that they done that, and they should still do it even more. They've done it to an extent, but I think there's still room for improvement there. And guess who initially will be the people to fight against that? A lot of these, like I said, Asian immigrants who come in, they think that, oh, well, I'm not getting in. Where's our benefits? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, if you fight against these things, like I said, you're either an idiot or a bigot. There's not really a middle ground. Because no one will fight against that kind of thing. I don't think there's a logical argument for maintaining the status quo. And when people want to maintain the status quo, what they essentially want is white male advantage. They want white male preference. So they talk about all this, we want to go back to how it was, immigration, this, that, and the other. No, what they want is for white males to not have to compete. We're sick of having to compete with other people who are just as qualified or more qualified than us, smarter than us, and brown. This is our nation. We shouldn't have to compete with those of color. Yeah, we want to be given the jobs, and we want spaces held for our kids, and that's that. That's all they want,
See, if y'all would have just took just 15 minutes, and I can only even say that long because now you got AI. You could have even took a few minutes on AI. It would have showed you that, you know what, this is not a good idea. But you choose not to do that. It's not just the Asian community. It's anybody who immigrated over here and they think they know more than black folk. We tell them, hey man, those people, they don't like you either. Oh, y'all only say that because you're lazy. What?
And just to be clear, everybody who comes to America thinks they know better than black folk. Yeah. Everybody thinks they've got the formula. Oh, you guys are just lazy. Oh, this, that, and the other. And you think, one of the things that frustrates me more than anything, and this is going to sound a little bit controversial, but this is me, and this is before FBA came along, because FBA is a relatively new thing. I've been saying for decades, and I literally mean decades, for at least 20 years, that Black Americans should reject the term African American. Not because they're not African, not because they don't have African heritage, but my thought behind that was that they should not wear the label African American unless the white Americans agree to wear the label European American. Because by attaching an external continent to your name, it removes your native your native claim. And the argument is that Black Americans might, look, there's going to be debate about whether or not they carry indigenous blood, which, spoiler alert, they all do, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Let's move the indigenous argument aside. If a people were brought to that nation 400 years ago, yeah, on average, yeah, and they've been there for that long and their entire culture is now tied to that landmass, you classify them as native. You might not classify them as indigenous, that's another argument, but you certainly classify them as native. So Black Americans are the most native group to America that's there currently. Yeah, they're the most native group to America. White Americans are not as native as Black Americans. White Americans came in very, very small numbers, but most white American immigration came from different places, Ireland, mainland Europe, Italy, for instance, all those places. It came in waves. So they came from these, that later white immigration came in waves, okay? And that happened after the initial bulk of Black immigration to America from Africa had already taken place. So in my view, Black Americans are the most native people. After the actual indigenous Americans, they have the most native claim to say, this is our land, like we've been here for a long time. After them comes white Americans, and then after them last comes Asian Americans, okay? So you have kind of like the Blacks and perhaps the Latinos, yeah, Blacks and Latinos who have, I would say, of almost temporary claim for nativeness in that landmass. They've both been there for an extremely long time. So unless white Americans are willing to wear the label of European American, it's always been my view that Black Americans should reject African American. That's why I kind of call them Black Americans and not African Americans, because I don't like attaching a separate landmass to their name. I'm not denying the history, or, well, I am to a degree, but I'm not doing that today. But in short, I think they should just call themselves Americans. Black Americans should just be, we are American. They have the claim to the term American more than white Americans. So it should be Americans. So you should have, indigenous Americans, Americans, and European Americans. To me, those are the three classification groups. I don't think, at least I don't agree with the term African American. I never have done, but that's just me personally. I don't want a big argument about that. You can put it in the comments if you want. I'm not going to I'm not going into all of that. I'm just saying that I've never seen it as a particularly useful term for them to take on. I actually think even the term Afro-American was better. I know Afro-American used to come before and say, hey, that's not correct, it's derogatory. Afro is a hairstyle. I was like, no, it was better, because at least it was alluding to a landmass, but wasn't actually naming it. So you could say, I'm an Afro-American. This is kind of like more a phenotypic description to say even though I know it's linked to Africa, but at least it's saying it's more a phenotypic description. I'm a Black Afro-American, sounds like Black American, whereas African-American, once again, it externalizes you to the landmass that you own, and Black Americans own that landmass, and that term has given them immigrant status within their own nation, and that's kind of what bothers me more than anything.
We've been knowing these people. Listen, we've lived with these people literally during slavery, okay? Ain't nobody know these people more than we do. After slavery, Black folks are still working in their house. When you work in somebody's house, you get to know them. And what we learn, we pass it down to our children and say, hey, this is how these people move, this is how they talk, this is how they act, this is how they react. We know who they are. You Johnny come lately, think you know who these people are, and because they smile in your face, like that, they great at being fake nice, get you to do their dirty work, and then they laugh at you when you do their dirty work and you get messed over. They laugh at you. Now, with affirmative action,
and this is exactly what's happened with this whole Trump thing. All those people who are kind of like, willing to do the dirty work, willing to sell people down the river. We've seen that and we laughed about it with the Mexican community.
Yanet Correa screams injustice after her husband was placed on an expedited deportation order after showing up to his immigration check-in.
It's like, Trump came for you with ICE. Don't come to the Black community for support, okay? because you guys are the loudest and the most. I've got a video coming about Ryan Garcia soon, who's a Mexican boxer who has said the most heinous things about black people, and for some reason no one's cancelled him. He hasn't been cancelled anywhere, and it's kind of like, it's just like open seas, like you can just say whatever you want about the black community. But the point is that don't come to the black community for help when it all falls. Like, we're not, those days are over. Yeah, with those where you could just hoodwink and then come for that support when you need it. No, you're not gonna get it. We're gonna look at you and we're gonna exclude you, man.
He was getting into the colleges more based on the numbers at the time. Now you got rid of affirmative action in college admissions. Now you're not getting in there like you was. Isn't that something? See, what's going to constantly happen to anybody that goes against us as black Americans, you're not going against us because we did something wrong to you. You're not going against us because we commit some sort of sin and unrighteousness. No, you're going against us for the perpetrator of the most sin and unrighteousness in the world. You purposely teamed up with people that made your homeland desolate in a lot of times.
And what he's talking about here, I call, this is that Gandhi form of racism. You know, I think Gandhi is a perfect analogy for this kind of racism, where the whole world sees this guy as some kind of peaceful liberator. But Gandhi was a racist. He was a racist that believed in apartheid. He was a racist that believed in separation of races. And what Gandhi wanted to do was fight for his people and preserve their position over the blacks. Okay, he wanted to preserve their position over the blacks. He liked being second to the whites. Okay, this is the kind of background about Gandhi that people don't know about, and this is exactly what people are doing when they're defending white supremacy. They're defending their position, because all of these other ethnic groups, these immigrant groups, you'll notice that their focus is always on the black community. Why is that? Because they don't want the black community being second to the whites. Yeah, they don't like the fact that the black communities have, in America in particular, have the most legitimate claim of, hey, we're native, hey, we belong here, we've been here the longest, and hey, this government's going to look after us. They just want to come in and say, caste system, whites are at the top, brown people come next, black people at the bottom. And they want to do that. They want to be able to do that anywhere. A lot of these kind of like immigrant, or the kind of like smaller, these smaller immigrant communities, they want to be able to do that anywhere. They want to just be able to cast their caste system wand, you know what I mean? Wave it and go, blacks at the bottom. I want to just insert myself. They don't mind inserting themselves beneath whites. They don't have that kind of self-respect, that kind of like, or that kind of like that battle and that, you know, that fighter mentality that black people have, where it's kind of like, no, you're not going to look down on me. They're happy to look down on me all you want, as long as I can look down on the blacks. That's the most important thing to them. You know, like I said, it's that Gandhi form of racism.
A lot of reasons some of you immigrate here is because of some of the policies put down by the people that you want to join hands with. Let me tell you something. Why would I join hands with anybody who violated my people? Why would I join hands with somebody who have taken unalive my people? Why would I say, you know what? I want to hold hands with them. I want to join them. When they did, well, it is a documented history of what they done to you as Asians.
One of the biggest question marks in history, actually, and I've got a lot of conspiracy theories about this, is the amount of heinous acts that America has conducted in the kind of Pacific area of Asia. So amongst these kind of like Far East Asians, everyone knows about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay. And yet we have this bizarre situation where not only will the Japanese not speak about it, they clearly entirely forgive America for that. And not only forgive America, seek to emulate America and love America. Like there's this really unspeakable partnership, which my knowledge in research and history means something fishy went on there. We even have the same thing in Korea, where America committed the most heinous genocide in Korea that no one speaks about. But then you have the same situation with the South Koreans and their love affair with America. And I always think that is normally a symptom or normally an expression of the fact that the people who are in partnership with America now were in partnership of America when these things occurred. Maybe they were the beneficiaries of these heinous acts that were committed in America. Maybe there was some kind of regime change or population replacement that took place. It's very, very conspiratorial, but at the same time, to me, historically, that's the only thing that ever makes sense. For instance, if someone was to come into, let's say, Libya 30 years from now, yeah, everyone's forgotten about the circumstances surrounding the Libyan war and the removal of Gaddafi, okay? And Libya is just like this massive pro UK / America nation. They love America. And people who are looking at it go, well, wait a second, we just have, all they have is remnants of like the story of the war. And they're like, well, America invaded and UK invaded and they destroyed Libya. And Libya was so advanced in this, that, and the other. Now, if you're not in a position where we are right now, where we're kind of like very much have access to the history or have access to what happened during this war and the heinous acts of invasion and the NATO forces against the Libyan people and the racial genocide that took place, if we're not armed with that and we're just armed with this kind of like second-hand retelling, it makes no sense. It's like, why are these people so grateful to America? But if you were on the ground in, for instance, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and you know who was destroyed and who was removed as a result of that, and you know who was put in place and who benefited at the tail end of that, it might make more sense. I don't know if I'm making sense though from rambling, but it's just my thoughts around that.
And Black Americans haven't done a thing to any of you in any nation. And yet you still import your behind over here. And then you got a nerve to talk crap about us, team up with them to try to undermine us. And then in the end, you hurting yourself. And that's what's going to happen.
And it's jealousy, by the way. The hatred towards Black Americans is just jealousy because people do not understand how a group that's so comparatively small in terms of global population has had so much of an effect on everybody. That's why they come and they're so hateful and they're so scornful, and it's just across the board. It doesn't matter what sport you watch, it doesn't matter what music you listen to, it doesn't matter what kind of cultural event that we're talking about. We know that there's going to be a very much unfair and disproportionately negative perspective on anyone who's Black and who's competing and who's winning, because they'll always find an excuse to justify their racism, which is just jealousy most of the time.
Any of you, the folks included, you attack God's children, you only attacking yourself. You think you hurting us? You're not gonna hurt us. Trust me, we are just fine. We come from a descendant of slave. We didn't have anything. So what are you really taking from us that wasn't taken from us already? Let me tell you something. These people cannot do nothing to us that haven't been done already. Well, we'll take your affirmative action away. Well, we never had affirmative action from slavery all the way up until it came into place. So you're not really doing nothing that we have experienced. Now, immigrants.
I love the fact that he's talking about the survivability of the Black American population as well. It's so true. It's kind of like, do you think that when they do all this stuff like the removal of DEIs and they really think like, yeah, take it there, take it away, he really hitting you in the nuts, Black America. It's kind of like, like you said, it's kind of like, dude, man, what have you given us? It's not like you're taking away reparations, which is what we're truly owed. You know what I mean? And when I say I'm talking about Black Americans, that's what they're truly owed. It's not like you're giving them like what you're doing with that nation in the Middle East, where I'm talking about this bombing the Palestinians at the moment. It's not like you're giving them loads and loads of dough, you know what I mean, every year, and then you've taken that away. We're taking away your £1 million a year allowance, reparations payout. You're giving them nothing, man. Like, so you can't. Taking away nothing, taking away nothing from nothing isn't going to affect people. It's like, oh yeah, we're giving you 3 pence, and now we're not going to give you anything. So I will. Black Americans will survive. They will survive. I know for a fact. And people hate that resilience, but I love the fact that he's just like verbalizing it here because people need to hear it, man.
You came in here with affirmative action. That can sting you. We had to get it out the mud every single day and still got to get it out the mud every day. Y'all chose to come over here and play yourself, even with the Chinese Exclusion Act that was in this country, how they treated Asians in this country, and you still want to join hands with those people because you say, you know what? It's better join hands with them than join hands with Black America. That's really what it is. And then now you're talking about the matcha is running out because the folks are all up on your matcha. Let me tell you about that, Asian community. You're not going to be over the matcha much longer because they're going to take it over. Now, what she said about Asian food is very expensive now, yeah, and that's strange. That you know it's bad when Asian food is expensive because let's call it what it is. Most Black folks know
Asian food is mad expensive. Me and my wife were talking about this the other day, the fact that it's like ordering like a Chinese now, that used to be like the cheap, like affordable, quick, good food. Now it's kind of like, it's like a real consideration. Like, hey, do you want to do a Chinese? No, it's like a real kind of like, let's have a quick chat about finances. Yeah. So like if we maybe forgo this, that, and the other, we can do a Chinese this Friday. Yeah. That's what it's like now. It's mad. Chinese food's mad expensive.
Oh, hey, you go to the Asian spot, hey, you gonna get 10 pounds of food for $5. I remember the last time I went to an Asian spot, and I really like this spot because they have the bourbon chicken. Oh, I love the way they do that bourbon chicken with the noodle. And I looked at the price of that, I say, hold on, that's the price? Something like that, $7, $8, and you walking out there with 3 pounds of noodles in there and chicken, right? Not no more. You $15, $16 now. Like what? You can go to whether it's the Black-owned spots, whether it's Hispanic-owned spots. Usually the non-white spots will save you money. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Back, normally that's what will happen. Go to a Black restaurant, Hispanic, Asian, save money with the food. The folks, yeah, they gonna run the money up. But yeah, it's very expensive. But here's the thing. All of you groups I'm noticing, you starting to really openly confess how you made a great mistake by siding with the folks against Black America. And how we feel about that, okay, I mean, that's great you confessing all that, but we good. We not...
We're basically saying they ain't trying to team up with you again. All right, you had your chance, you picked your side, now you're gonna have to live with the consequences of your action. That's all there is to it. All these people always think they can go back. It's like the J-ish, you know who I'm talking about, community tried to come for Black America because we're being persecuted. Oh, stop Kanye. So you're like, shut up, man. Like, we don't owe you nothing, man. do you want me to reel out the history about your involvement in the slave trade and your involvement, like how your community is? Do you think we're born yesterday, man? Go jump off a bridge. Then the Mexican community is out there with their begging, but oh no, help us protest against ICE. Oh, they took my grandpa. Oh, they took my little tough flipping tits. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the life that you chose. And now it's the Asian community who are going to be next when there was like those kind of like Asian hate crimes, which were blatantly not being committed, but they wanted to point a finger at the Black American community. Now they want to turn around and be like, oh, help us, we're not getting to university. Well, you know what you can do with that? Everyone thinks that it's like the easy community, the go-to community for easy, quick lobbying support. Just quickly, let's get. Nah. Them days are over. Trust me.
You can tell us all that, but you need to go holler at your people about all that. You need to go holler at your people how some of them have treated Black America. Because them folks, they'll lay down with Asian women all day long and not like Asian people. They'll lay down with Asian women and go drop a nuclear bomb on Asian people today.
Facts.
They don't care. They were laying down with Black men, women, and children in slavery, and they can't stand our guts. And some of you find out the hard way. They're more dedicated to white supremacy. Yeah, They'll do what they want to do with you in the bedroom, and as soon as they get up out that bed, it's dedicated right back to white supremacy. And white supremacy is not about just pure white supremacy, because if you think you're a so-called white supremacist, you wouldn't dare touch an Asian woman, right? But in they mind, you can dominate other groups of women and still be called a white supremacist.
Well, there's certain people of the Talmud who have exactly the same outlook as well. So you have to be very, very, very careful with these groups. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot, this is kind of a side note, but there's a lot of the black women out there who really like these, you get so many of these situations where these, you know, these white men essentially take advantage or just basically revert to their supremacist nature the moment they fall out with their missus. And I know people personally, by the way, who have been, you know, black women who have been beaten up by their partners, their white partners, based purely on the fact that they thought they were superior to them. And they're so shocked when it happens. Like, you really have to take just a bit more time doing your due diligence, because these people, like you said, they can, them being in a relationship with you is not an indication that they're not like that. Okay, it's not an indication that they're not like that. It might be, it's probably almost impossible for a black man to be in a relationship with a white woman and to be, you know, to harbor the kind of negative feelings that white men hold for black people. It's impossible. You don't really see it the other way around. And that's why a lot of women go into these relationships very naive, thinking that they're safe, and they're not. So it's just, yeah, I'm glad he mentioned this. This goes across the board for all ethnic minorities. Do your due diligence, you know, and make sure that you haven't got one of those, if you know what I'm talking about.
That's how they always been. And just as much you have some sisters are finding out the hard way about these zaddies, Asian women are finding out about those zaddies too. They're just as racist to y'all in their homes. And I'm pretty sure you've been told, but you didn't want to listen. You're hard-headed.
Facts.
But next time, if you want to join the folks for anything, just maybe you need to think, am I hurting myself? Could you hurt yourself in the mix? See, y'all were trying to harm us. Y'all was trying to prevent us to get in colleges and universities so you can get in there over us. Because you in your arrogant mind thought that you were more deserving to get in a college and university than black America.
And that is, once again, that Gandhi racism, that kind of like, I want to be able to visit this nation, insert myself into the hierarchy at my caste position. And my caste position says I'm below the white man, I'm perhaps even below the light brown man, but I'm above the black man. And that's good enough for me. I'm happy to be above the black man. I don't mind inserting myself here. And so I'm going to do everything I can to deconstruct anything that allows these people to compete with me. That's what it's about. It's about competition and removing black people as a competitive group. It's despicable, but I'm glad he's mentioning it.
Your arrogance got you in trouble, and your arrogance led you down the path of anti-black racism, and it didn't work out for you. Now you're not getting into those schools anymore. White folks are getting into them, and you assisted them in doing it. Boy, I tell you, when are all you other groups going to learn? When are you going to learn? Don't attack God's children. It'll never work out for you.
Bars. So there you go. That was the video. Check them out. African Diaspora News channel. Asian woman admits her people aren't getting top universities after affirmative action case. You know, thought it was quite interesting for us to go through that. Don't have much more to add than that. Catch you in the next one. Peace.